Have you worked with sleep clients who just can't seem to make headway? One of the secrets of responsive sleep coaching is flexibility. The way you plan strategies with your clients and support them requires individualization and creativity for success. By the end of this video, you'll understand why throwing out fixed approaches, timescales, routines, and guidelines will lead you to more rewarding experiences and happy clients. I spoke to Prachi recently, who was our first Indian graduate. She told me she's been able to reach families who increasingly feel the pressure to sleep train by finding flexible solutions that are culturally sensitive, safe, gentle, and effective. If this sounds refreshing, then welcome on board. I'm Lindsay, and I've trained over 600 inspiring coaches internationally through our holistic sleep coaching program. This is the place to be if you are passionate about supporting responsive sleep. And if you're serious about becoming a holistic sleep coach, we'd love to help you. All you need to do is click the link in the description and book a call with us. There's something fresh to learn from every single family, every child, and every new interaction. That's what makes sleep work so fascinating and fulfilling. But you have to be willing to approach each scenario with an open mind and fresh ideas. If you rely on a handful of strategies and a rigid roadmap to get them to their goal, many of them are going to lose their way. Our holistic approach to sleep uniquely positions parents as the experts on their children and invites them to co-produce their own plan for success. This ultimately leads to more rewarding interactions as well as greater successes. You might think that to work with most families, what would help make things really clear would be to have a set of proven strategies that work with a set of given challenges. So, for example, early rising equals scheduled awakening. Multiple night wakes equals change how the child falls asleep. Long protracted bedtime equals bedtime routine. But does that really work? In my experience, no, not really. And the other thing that doesn't work is oversimplifying sleep down to just a handful of strategies such as pick up, put down, early bedtimes, controlled crying, and dream feeds. Not only does this ignore the complexity of sleep, but these strategies are not always responsive, and some of them don't fix the underlying issue. Limiting your tools limits your results. At the Holistic Sleep Coaching Program, not only do we never promote non-responsive strategies such as control crying or pick up, put down, but we also reject the idea that certain problems require a cookie-cutter solution. So moving away from just a handful of sleep strategies in your toolkit means rethinking the way we create sleep solutions. Rather than trying to work out which of 4 or 5 tools is most appropriate, it's often about listening to the family's unique situation and tailoring a plan collaboratively. It starts with how we define sleep problems in the first place. There is a huge need to be culturally sensitive with sleep issues. The perception of sleep problems is influenced by cultural and societal norms, and therefore what is a disaster for one family is either manageable or normal for another family. This is also true for sleep needs and patterns of sleep. In some cultures, a long afternoon nap and a late bedtime is normal. A 2-phase sleep at night is normal in many countries. Sharing a bed or a room is normal in numerous parts of the world. Sleeping through the night is defined differently depending on who you speak to. Not only that, but most sleep research is very white and Western centric and doesn't necessarily represent sleep in other racial groups. Another thing to bear in mind is that some parents have a greater need for sleep than others. If you are someone who needs more sleep than average, then you'll struggle more with sleep deprivation or fragmentation than someone who needs less sleep than average. These sleep needs are influenced by genetics, habits, lifestyle, health, and whether there's an underlying mental health or sleep pathology. So we always need to start by listening to what parents are saying their lived experience of sleep problems and parenting are, and compare this against sleep biology and developmentally appropriate norms in order to come up with a way forward for the family that feels achievable, realistic, and sensitive to the needs not only of the child, but the whole family as well. We need to be open-minded, abandon any preconceived ideas about what the problem might be and how we fixed it with the last client. Having this flexible approach means we're open to trying something new, tweaking the plan, and even sometimes doing a U-turn or pressing pause if it doesn't seem to be working. So what does that look like? Well, for all families, it involves flexibility, bespoke tailoring of solutions, thinking outside the box, providing families with options that they can choose from based on their unique knowledge of their child, and regularly checking in with them to make sure that they're happy, that the plan feels sustainable, and they're willing to work on it, as well as finding out about progress along the way. Working in this way requires a commitment to individualizing the approach. It doesn't mean you will never use a familiar technique as part of the plan. It means that the solution is about so much more than the technique, which, let's face it, people could just Google. If this is new to you, let me give you an example of how this might look. Let's say you're working with a family with a frequently waking 1-year-old. Tensions are high and they're desperate for what they think is a sleep solution. But using a family-centered approach, as well as understanding sleep biology and performing a comprehensive assessment to check for related and underlying factors, and being willing to come up with a creative solution, you design a support package that involves working with the parents on their parenting confidence, co-parenting and self-care to enable them to be effective co-regulators. You also identify barriers to optimal sleep, such as a bedtime that's too early for that child's sleep needs. You work on the structure and activity levels in the day. You find out that the child had a difficult start to life in intensive care and help the family work through whether they need additional psychological support with that. You also identify that the child's not really eating any solids at all, gagging very frequently, and so you support them with appropriate referrals for feeding and health and nutritional input from a dietitian, speech and language therapist, and their doctor. Alongside all of that, you also decide what sustainable sleep solutions might be manageable with everything else they have going on and in what time frame, and decide with the family, after discussing a few age-appropriate strategies, that habit stacking will be a good option to use in a holding pattern while they investigate potential underlying causes, making a plan to check in regularly with them and review everything fully in a month. As I said before, there's often no mystery about which of the actual sleep solutions work. There's nothing wrong with tried and tested approaches such as habit stacking. It's gentle, responsive, and it works. But having a cookie cutter approach might have ignored all the other factors and merely implemented some habit stacking. A truly creative and comprehensive approach would position habit stacking, aka the sleep tool, as almost the last step rather than front and centre of the sleep plan. A flexible approach also builds in the normality of checking in with a family and putting them fully in the driving seat. Not only do they have the final say on what approach to take, but they hold the reins and can press pause or back up a step when they need to. The benefit of this style of sleep work is that it builds parenting confidence and autonomy. It grows their self-efficacy so that long-term they don't need to keep relying on you to plan their next move. The process is interactive and they learn as they go, just like you, by the way. With this individualized and family-centered way of supporting sleep, the family is much more likely to be consistent, follow the plan, and report a positive experience too. So there we have it. How a creative, individualized and flexible approach that puts parents and families at the center of sleep support strategies is more likely to be successful, as well as lead to mutually rewarding experiences for both sleep coaches and families. If you're interested in supporting families in a way that's creative, flexible and evidence-based, then we would love to hear from you. The first step is to book a call and see if we're a good fit. All you need to do is click the link below this video. And if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Speak to you soon.